Well, you guys, welcome back. Golly moly, no coat. Whew, it has been cold. I went through a 30-pound bottle of propane in about 4 days, and that's setting the RV at like 54, just so that none of the pipes burst. Good thing about my RV is on this travel trailer is the fact that all the plumbing is in the cargo area down here. It's not under it, so it keeps it heated because it has floor registers for the heater, so that keeps it from freezing and busting. And I could have went ahead and winterized it again, but we're trying to work in there, and I got stuff to do. I've been working on one little old leak that was on the toilet. I've been working on it. Hopefully I got that fixed, but I don't want to put no water through it right now until I know for sure it's up around 60. I had talked about this before, I think, guys. This is that gooseneck adapter. I'm going to go ahead and get this welded. My neighbor that lives over here is a farmer in the area. They got a welder. I'll just pull it down to their farm shop. I'm going to have them throw a bead inside here because this did turn on me on the last trip, and it took me 3 hours to get it straightened out. You have to keep these things torqued down, but as you can tell, there's a lot of weight here, and it can happen. It came with bolts, but it's literally impossible to get the nuts on the bolts because you got to reach all the way from there down into here, and you can't do it. So that's kind of a manufacturer's flaw, and they failed to talk about that part in their video on how to install one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw a bead. If I ever decide to sell this thing, I'll cut it off, cut the bead off, put one here, maybe one over here, something like that, just to make sure it's secure and stays held. And then I've got my white line so I'll know where I'm at on this thing. In the last video, we'd worked on the cargo box, and I did have a comment from a viewer, and I had already thought of this, and I should have said something about it. He mentioned nightmares with these cargo carriers, that this 4-inch bumper on this thing is not real heavy duty, maybe 16 gauge, something like that. Some of them are just spot welded to the frame, but mine is actually welded all the way around. But when I do the weld on the front, those beads, I'm going to add some more in here to hump that up just a little bit more, because this pipe is it's just a hollow pipe, square tubing, and that's where you put your sewer hose. As a matter of fact, I ordered an extra sewer hose. The last time we were at the casino, I believe my sewer hose 15 feet. It wouldn't reach, and I was going to have to remove my whole rig, and I could have, and it was no problem, but the thing was, it didn't really fit in the spot right. It was going to be hanging out in the street, or something's going to be hanging out in my truck or something. It barely did fit in there anyway with the truck after I disconnected from it. So I'll get that done. We're looking at taking some of this. This is this marine plywood. If you've never used marine plywood, this stuff is amazing. I guess it's for boats. That's the only thing I can think of. You know how plywood is when it gets wet. I'm not lying to you guys. This piece of plywood here, I had one sheet of it that I got from somebody. Oh, I know what it was. It was used in the manufacture of semi-rig trailers. They put it in the floor, and I had that exact piece there sit outside in the rain or out in the weather for, I know, 6 years. And before that, it was running boards for the side of my truck. I used it to put election signs on, and that stuff is, I don't know how that stuff's probably 20 years old, and I have used it. I even took those pieces and made a wheelchair ramp for someone one time that would come to visit me. And now they're in a nursing facility, so they don't come anymore. But I've saved that stuff, and I've used it over and over and over. And this is what I used this for, was for my landing pads for under my my RV, so that they were just thin, easy to stack. And I made about, I don't know, 10 or 12 of them. But I want to use these and mount these under here, like so, and put some U-bolts on them, and take that big piece of PVC pipe. And I've got a cap that goes on one end, and I got a screw-off cap that goes on this end, and I'm going to use that for storage underneath here. This is what I've got rigged up to make this more secure. Of course, this is just a plastic box, guys, but it is. I mean, it's bolted down. It ain't coming. It ain't coming off there easily, by any means. But it would be very easy to just cut that off and take a lock off. So what my plan is I'm going to put some of those. All those clamp things that goes on these hoses, and I'm going to clamp one here, clamp one there, and then I'm going to put a padlock, and they shouldn't be able to slide it off the box. If they get the box open, they're going to have to figure out some way to cut this stuff, and this stuff is tough to cut. Let me tell you, you got to bring the proper tools with you. Working on a battery box. I got a battery yesterday afternoon. Just happened to look on Craigslist, was needing another deep cycle battery, and the guy had one that, gosh, it's like 3 months old. He had it on his bass boat. He sold his boat, and he just kept the battery, and I gave him $50 for it. It's an Interstate, 160 6 amp hours, I think, something like that. It's like brand new, $50. So, but I say, you know, they're about 107, something like that. But I've got to make another battery box. And this is the existing battery box here. These boxes are like $30, $38. I'm not paying $38 for a plastic box. But this is the one that came with the RV that the battery's on now. So I was getting it for the dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make me one out of that toolbox right there. And I'm going to drill me a hole in it with my hole saw. And I'm going to try to figure out how to mount this, probably. Just, you know, screw it in, caulk it, and then put a hose on this and attach it to this hose and make me a Y, so that way I can vent it. You got to vent these things. You can't have that inside your RV. I had thought about using this ammo box down here. This was a box I'd made with a inverter. I put a battery in the inverter that I had years ago. If something happened and the power went out and I needed my computer here at the house, I could just bring that in and plug my computer up to it, and it would run for a while till the power came back on. That was mostly for, you know, if I needed to print invoices or something like that, I could use that. But I've taken that all apart now. I'm not going. I mean, that'd be a great box for a battery box, but that thing's heavy, you know. So I need to stay with plastic. And I fit this thing for the battery. I may put me some kind of little rubber seal around it. I don't really think it's necessary as long as I've got the hole at the top. Most of the gases will come out and then vent over here. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before, but there's a battery box down inside here. And this is the vent, and it's just got a flex hose, 2-inch flex hose that comes out. Like I say, I'm going to wire into that flex hose and put the other battery in there. This furnace of mine has the fan on it's 12 volt. I didn't realize that. It's 12 volt, and so I'm sure it's you know, into the converter. It runs off the converter. But if you're boondocking, then you can actually run it off your batteries, and that's why I wanted at least 2. To make sure. I looked it up. It's 35,000 BTU Suburban, somewhere around 8.5 amps is what it uses. So I should be able to, as long as I don't, you know, I don't want to get down below 50% of my batteries, but I should, you know, it's not going to be running constantly. It's just going to kick on and off. So I should be able to keep my furnace going if we're parked somewhere and trying to get to a warmer spot, and it's not, you know, it's down in 30s or 40s or something, and we need some heat. So anyway, tomorrow and the next day, I'll have Eddie back over here. I told him to stay home, but it's too cold. You know, it got up to about 30 something yesterday, but the wind was across that field right there, blowing 15 miles an hour, and it's awful. I told him, I said, just stay home, and then we'll try to work tomorrow, Wednesday, and maybe Thursday. I think it's probably a chance of rain on Friday. But thanks a lot, guys, for watching. I'll talk to you again real soon.